All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. We are awaiting a call from Bryan Salmond from Channel 3. He's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes to kind of break down this Vegas Golden Knights Boston Bruins game. The Bruins are one of the best teams in the East and projected to be one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup this year. So this is a pretty big game tonight. I think that's pretty fair to say. But before we get to that, we don't talk a lot of baseball on this show. And got a couple Game 5s. If you watched a little bit yesterday, I watched some of the games last night. The Yankees absolutely had no problems with the Minnesota Twins.
What the Yankees do.
Yeah, just unbelievable offensive lineup. But watching what is it? Let's talk Dodgers here for a second, because we got a Game 5 tomorrow, and the Dodgers could do a choke job again. Washington's a really good team, and I know you've been high on Washington. I want to talk about Clayton Kershaw for a second, because we all know what he does during the regular season, year in and year out, right? He's dominant. But why is it that when we get to postseason, he struggles? Why?
Well, he's aging. He is, I believe, 34, 35 years old, one. Two, his delivery, if you look up his windup, it puts a lot of pressure on his body. And so when he follows through on his pitches towards the end of the year, I think he's actually kind of injured or more tired than the average pitcher, because his windup takes so long. He has about a 3-second windup.
Well, I'll tell you something. We'll get more into this, but the Game 5s tomorrow are going to both be interesting, and a lot of pressure on the Dodgers, a lot of pressure on the Braves, and I don't think both home teams win tomorrow. So joining us right now on the line, we got some hockey to talk about. We got a little UNLV hoops, Zion in action in NBA preseason, and we'll continue to talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs. This guy, Channel 3, news anchor here, friend of the show, Bryan Salmond, joining us. Bryan, thanks for coming on. How are you?
Oh, it's been too long, my man. B and Jason, man, how you guys doing?
What's up, King Anchor? How you doing, man?
Oh, see.
Well, I
it
see
already starts. I've been on 2 seconds. I'm already the TV anchor.
I see your billboards all over
That's
town.
how it goes.
You're a hot commodity here in Las Vegas.
You are a famous individual here.
Yes, you are.
Well, I don't know about famous. You're the one that's up there drawing in my teeth, trying to put mustaches and everything else on me. Is that you?
Yeah. That's not me.
No, that was absolutely Bryan.
The last thing I
He
would
tried to pay me to do it. I wouldn't do it.
The last thing I would do is try to make you look like Hitler. I would never do that. No mustaches. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Bryan, about this hockey game tonight. I'm really excited for it. Boy, the Knights look really good early on this season, taking care of the San Jose Sharks at home and on the road. But the Boston Bruins are a very, very good team, and I know you used to work in Boston and you used to cover the Boston Bruins, so this game is probably pretty cool for you as well. Is the hype real with this Boston Bruins team, and what do you think? What do you think about this game tonight? Give us a little bit of a preview.
How about this? I mean, the fact that the Golden Knights opened up their season against the Sharks, a team that everyone in Las Vegas kind of hates, the Golden Knights kind of hate, and then their second game they play against the Eastern Conference champions, the Boston Bruins, coming to town with Brad Marchand, the number one trash talker in the NHL. So
Yeah,
Ryan Reeves goes against him. He loves that. David Pastrnak. I mean, they've got a good. You already know they've got a good team. So I'm very excited to kind of an early season litmus test, if you will, if you'll allow me to say that. If we can see where they're at.
I think they've proven already that they are by far better than the San Jose Sharks. The acquisitions they've made, the goaltending, I think they've proven that. I think the Sharks have certainly taken a step back this year. But when we talk about the Bruins, you're absolutely right. Marchand is fantastic. They have good goaltending, good defenders. I can see this being an overtime game. I could see the game tonight being a 2-1 type game. I don't think we're going to see a lot of goals in this game. I think it's going to be very physical. And you're right, I think it is a litmus test early in the season for this Vegas Golden Knights team. You could make the argument right now, and I know it's really early, but you could.
I know what you're going to say.
Well, yeah, you could make the argument that these are not only the two best teams in the NHL right now, but this could be a preview in the Stanley Cup Finals. You could absolutely see that.
I'm in your head. I'm in your head, B. I knew you were going to say, yeah. You know what, though? You wouldn't be absurd in saying something like that. You're really not. I mean,
the first time in my life, yes, I'm not absurd.
And I need to get out of there. There's a bunch of dark stuff rolling around in that noggin of yours, man. But, Melrose picked the Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup. So, I mean, and we already know Boston. I mean, they were good last year. They got beat down by the St. Louis Blues, and they returned a team that's as good or even better. So, I mean, you're not ridiculous for saying something like that. I can agree with that.
I mean, look, there's several other teams out there that you could certainly make the argument are just as good and just have just as good of a chance as either the Bruins or the Knights. But Is it based on the roster that the Vegas Golden Knights have now? I've said this, that I think this Vegas Golden Knights team right now, and they're going to get Nate Schmidt back, I think this team is the best team they've had in their third year here. I know a lot of people might disagree with me on that one, but I think this team is better than they have. And listen, we all know what happened in year one, making the Stanley Cup Finals. I think if you put this team out there right now with Washington, I believe they would have won that Stanley Cup. I think that they are better now than they ever been. Would you disagree with that?
No, I can't disagree with that. You know why they're better than they were than that team that went to the Stanley Cup Final is Mark Stone. Mark Stone's a monster.
He is a monster. I agree.
Mark Stone on that, yeah, exactly. You put him on that team, you take off James Neal, and what you have is a team that is absolutely formidable and, rightfully so, a favorite to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals and maybe win that thing. I mean, he had 73 points last year if you combine, his time in Ottawa and his time here in Las Vegas, and you put him on this team now, where he's playing with the guys. He's had a whole summer where he's the MVP of the Canadian national team. He's got chemistry with these guys. That is the reason why this team is much better. I couldn't agree with you more.
So you got two 2-0 teams. The line is minus 140 in Las Vegas's favor. Which way would you go in this game, Bryan?
I think you have to go with the Golden Knights. I mean, they looked good in their first two games. Plus, they're playing at home. We all know about T-Mobile Arena and just, how loud and energetic that arena is. And they're playing against the Boston Bruins. Everyone in town knows that the Bruins were the team in the Stanley Cup Final last year. They know that this is a true test. They're going to bring their A game. And we've only had one game so far this season here in Las Vegas of the two. So I think that you have to go with the Golden Knights. What are you thinking, Jay?
Yeah, I'm thinking Knights. I kind of like Knights puck line. They might just they could railroad the Bruins tonight. I think that's a possibility. Is Cody Eakin playing or not?
No, Cody Eakin. I wasn't at the morning skate today, but Cody Eakin, per Gerard Gallant yesterday, said that he's likely not going to play today. He may be back for their next game. I think he play Thursday, but yeah, he's not going to play.
What's an update on Nate Schmidt?
The update on Nate Schmidt is basically what I said last night on the air, and what Gerard Gallant has been saying is he's doing very well, but there's no change in his status. And that's what he said yesterday.
Gotcha. Okay, so for the most part, this team is fairly healthy. Yeah, there's a few guys you would like to have out there. But, I agree with you when it comes to Mark Stone. I think he's certainly one of the most important players on this team besides Fleury. I mean, he absolutely has to be out there. He gets this team going. He's physical, and he can score goals, and he's a fantastic player, no question about it, and that's why he's a former NHL All-Star. So I agree with you there. We'll have to wait and see what happens. If you want my opinion on this game, I think it is almost an absolute coin flip. The one thing concerning to me about the Boston Bruins is that they've been on the road for a week, and they've been in Vegas for a few days. And as we know, we call that the Vegas flu. It is possible that the Boston Bruins have, maybe received the Vegas flu. But I don't know. I think it's, like I said, I think it's a coin flip game. I think it's a game that I stay away from. If anything, I would lean towards the under and the Vegas Golden Knights. But again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I would be shocked, JD, if you were right on the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights just steamroll over this Bruins team.
You don't like the plus 195 puck line, Bryan?
Look, you might be right, but the one thing I don't like about that is I can see this game going into overtime. Now, obviously, if the Knights have a 1-goal lead with 5 minutes to go, you're looking pretty good because you'll probably get an empty netter.
I will say this, against the Sharks, they just look like the better team. They looked faster. They played really strong defense. The over-under in this game is 5.5, which is kind of low. So it could be a 3-2 Knights type of game with the game going.
Make no mistake about it. But make no mistake about it. These are two completely different teams.
I completely agree.
That team in San Jose, the way they've looked the last few weeks, they might not even be a playoff team. And when I look at the Boston Bruins, I absolutely can see why people are picking them to win the Stanley Cup.
And they had no Evander Kane.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Bryan.
And you know what, too, though? They also don't have Joe Pavelski, their captain from last year.
Right, that's important.
And and they didn't have Erik Karlsson in that first game either. So
that's right. Karlsson's wife had a baby, so that's a legitimate excuse, I think. All right,
I
guess that's legitimate. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Bryan Salmond, news anchor over there at Channel 3, who does a great job. Let's move on. Let's move topics here a little bit. Obviously, Bryan, you have been covering UNLV for a number of years, as have I. Before we get to UNLV basketball, let's start off and talk a little bit of UNLV football. I'll tell you, I haven't talked a lot of UNLV football the last several weeks for one reason and one reason only.
It's actually difficult to do.
I can't imagine why not.
Yeah, it's a tough subject to talk about.
It's painful. And Bryan, you aren't going to guess the bet that I had last week. I had UNLV plus 24. They scored that touchdown to get down to 17. They missed the extra point. Then they tried to onside kick it. They failed miserably at that. Boise State gets the ball, runs it down to the 2-yard line, and then runs it in, and I lose my bet by 1.
Brian doesn't care about your bad beat stories. Neither do I.
No, of course. I care about the pain and suffering of my guy Jay over here.
Well, if we're gonna talk about pain and suffering, let's talk about something that the UNLV coach is going through this year. With his pain and suffering, he's making, $500,000 a year. So I don't feel that bad for him. But look, I like Tony Sanchez. I think he's a good guy. But this is a man who never coached at the college level. Should we be surprised that he is unsuccessful at UNLV, a team that has been horrible for 20-plus years? There's no question in my mind now, based on where we are at in the season, that Tony Sanchez has no chance of survival of coaching this team next year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, basically, Francois said that last year, and the fact that she wanted to see if this game could make it to a bowl game and, get that Fertitta football complex open. We'll check on one of those, and the second one absolutely is not going to happen. So, unfortunately, like you said, Tony Sanchez is a great dude, man. I love listening to the guy talk.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, watching him coach and just watching how the team performs, they're going to have to go in a different direction.
And I think he's a class act, but he is outclassed right now as a coach. Do you think that UNLV has any chance of getting a big-name coach with this stadium coming in?
Ugh. You know what? No, I don't, and I'll tell you why. And this goes back. I've been telling a lot of people this. This goes back to my time in New Orleans. When I was in New Orleans, Tulane used to play in the Superdome, right? And the Superdome is a place that everybody wants to play in. So, college team playing in the big dome and whatnot. There was nobody in there. Now, UNLV playing in Raider Stadium or Allegiant Stadium is somewhat of a novelty. But just because they're playing in a beautiful stadium, that doesn't mean people are going to show up to watch a terrible team play in a beautiful stadium. I can't. I mean, they'll take tours of the stadium rather than go watch UNLV play. So I don't think that the stadium's going to make that big of a difference for recruits. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference for a coaching staff. I think the only thing that brings people to that stadium, recruits and a head coach, are wins. You got to win. People aren't going to come unless they win.
I disagree. I think you need an ace recruiter as a coach. You're not going to get an Urban Meyer, obviously, unless you're possibly in the Pac-12. He's going to USC. But with Vegas being the city that it is, the complex, the stadium, being in a fertile recruiting ground like Vegas, I mean, let's be honest. What if Tate Martell, DeMarco Murray, and a number of other players that went to Gorman had actually gone to UNLV? We'd be talking about a team that's probably been in a BCS bowl in the last 20 years.
Do you think that they didn't go to UNLV because they played in Sanborn Stadium, or do you think they didn't go to UNLV because they're in the Mountain West?
Well, I think there's a number of factors involved. Obviously, not being in the Pac-12 is an issue, and it's going to be for a while. But there's things working in UNLV's favors right now that I think can get them not a huge coach, but probably an upper tier D1 coach, a Power 5 guy.
What kind of a name do you think would be a good name to come? How about Jim Tressel?
That wouldn't be and he's shady enough where he's going to get some recruits. He's going to get the job done with that.
How about Mike Sanford or Bobby Houck? How would they work? Wait, that's right. Listen, we wish Tony Sanchez well. Like you said, he's a good guy, but not a good college football head coach. Maybe he'll be a coordinator somewhere. We wish, maybe he'll go back to high school. I don't know where he's going to go. He's made a lot of money in the last several years coaching there at UNLV. It just hasn't worked out for him. Armani Rogers is not a Division I quarterback.
He's probably Division I tight end, if not an NFL tight end.
He's injury prone, and that's why he's injury prone, and that's why I disagree with you. He gets injured almost every game. He's too injury prone.
It would help if he could be accurate throwing the ball too to play that position.
Yeah, exactly.
That
would be of some benefit.
Yeah, usually when you throw the ball around 35%, you're probably not going to win a lot of football games.
That is just atrocious.
And we're not talking about 20, 25-yard passes. We're talking about 8-yard passes.
We're talking the Tom Brady passes.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, well, we certainly agree on UNLV football. Brian, it's amazing how the UNLV basketball season is right around the corner. I think there should be high expectations for this team. We understand that there are players that are not going to be eligible yet, but we also understand that he has some good young talent in there. He's got some transfers that are eligible, and when you're the highest paid coach in the league, I think the standard and the bar needs to be raised. He needs to compete for a Mountain West Conference title. Do you think that's fair in year one?
Yeah, I completely agree. But I think that those are – I agree that the expectation is for him to compete for a Mountain West title in year one, but I don't necessarily believe that that's going to be the case, unfortunately. I mean, it's a brand-new team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally a brand-new team. It's exactly what Marvin Menzies had that very first year with all that talent, but I think they have less talent than Marvin Menzies had that very first year when they had Shakur and Brandon. So, I mean, it all depends on how that team gels together. I just don't think that you can go John Calipari and expect those kind of results if you're not John Calipari. You know what I mean? Just throwing a bunch of guys together that have never played together and just expect them to be good. But but I think he's got a lot of pressure. He's got a lot to live up to. I mean, the hopes and dreams of running Rebel basketball are on his shoulders right now.
I think Amari Hardy needs to be one of the best players in the conference for them to be successful. I think getting Bridges next year, he's not eligible this year. I think that is going to be an unbelievable tandem at the 1 and the 2, but I think Amari Hardy has too much ability and talent. I don't think Marvin Menzies did a good job with him. I think he needs to be an all-conference player, and he needs to be a leader on this team in order for them to succeed.
I don't disagree with the fact that he needs to do very well in order for them to do well. I think that he will do well. I mean, and I disagree in the fact that I don't think that Menzies used him well last year. I mean, he started him on the bench, and then he ended up starting him. And he had a very good year. He's only a sophomore.
Yeah, I think Menzies did well with Hardy last year.
What do you mean? First of all, he should have started at the beginning of the year. So I disagree.
He was a sophomore.
The progression.
I don't care if he was a sophomore. You put your best players out there.
I like how the fact that at the end of the year he was the main guy.
But you put your best players out there.
Marvin made the right decision there. What do you think about Donnie Tillman? You know, I watched him at Utah. He's a great athlete, shoots well from three. I mean, extremely good around the rim. Do you think he'll contribute early? And honestly, another question, Elijah Mitru-Long, I watched this guy. I mean, he looked awful at Texas as far as I'm concerned. He's looking like the one.
What do you mean? He averaged like 1 or 2 assists a game?
I think he averaged 3 points and 2 assists a game. He's looking like the one. I think that's a mistake. What are your thoughts on those two things?
Okay, first of all, you said the kid from Utah State or Utah?
Utah, Donnie Tillman.
Okay, I think that, well, I'm not as familiar with him as I am with the guy from Texas. I think that the transfers that they got in, basically, I don't want to say rejects, I mean, talking about college kids or whatever, but, you know, guys that come from other programs that didn't necessarily do all that well at those other programs coming to Las Vegas, I think that they're going to be playing a lesser talented team, so they have an opportunity to succeed and do well here. I think they're going to be focal points of the team because, you know, when you're a coach and you're trying to get someone to transfer to your program, you're selling them dreams. And the dreams you're usually selling them are playing time, and you get a chance to do what you didn't get to do at your former school and everything else. So I think that these guys will play freely, and I think they may do pretty well here. I mean, again, it's not the Big 12. It's not the Pac-12. So the Pac-12 kind of stunk last year, but it's not those two different conferences. So I think these players should be more talented than the guys that they're playing against. But again, I think it all matters on how the chemistry and their bond with their new teammates. I think that's huge.
And those are questions that we'll be able to ask him. Of course, we have Mountain West Conference Media Day coming up here in just a few days, so that'll be certainly fun, and we'll get a chance to catch up with all the best players in the Mountain West Conference and in the league, which is not a very good league. Fair to say Utah State is absolutely going to be a level above everybody else. And then Nevada, It's amazing how much Nevada is going to be dropping off. They lost everybody, including their head coach. But we'll continue.
Going to be terrible.
Yeah, they're going to be horrible, and I think San Jose State's obviously going to be terrible. Wyoming's not very good. There's not a lot of teams there. San Diego State's going to be San Diego State. They'll probably be, an NIT team. I don't see them any better than that. But we'll continue to monitor this as the college basketball season is right around the corner. Speaking of basketball, I'm watching some of the Zion Williamson highlights, just posterizing, absolutely posterizing guys in preseason. He is an absolute beast. What do you make of what he's been able to do so far in his professional career, just in preseason?
First of all, those highlights were absurd, weren't they?
They were.
Goodness gracious, man. That was fun to watch. And, again, you already know I worked in New Orleans. I was there when they drafted Anthony Davis.
So you're connected.
And, exactly. And as far as, like, the energy you could see with what Zion Williamson has brought to New Orleans, a city that's a football town, and making them excited about basketball, that's not something that Anthony Davis didn't do that when he was there. When he got drafted, he didn't do that. So just with that alone, he's done magnificent. But the way that he's played in the first game and that scrimmage that they had inside the Smoothie King Center was unbelievable. I think the hype is it's real. I mean, the hype is real, and I can't wait to see what he does. How about Lonzo Ball draining threes? That broken jumper
What?
Reggie Miller.
Does he have a jump shot now? Did he acquire one? Did he learn one?
I think he picked one up on the airplane. He might have bought one down on Bourbon Street or something, man.
Oh, Bryan, I always appreciate it, man, when you take some time to join us. We'll certainly see you at the hockey game tonight. You do a great job over there at Channel 3. We look forward to having you on again and talking some hoops.
Man, obviously, man, I love coming on with you and Jason, man. So thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Always appreciate it. Great friend, and you're great at what you do. Thanks, Bryan, for coming on. As always, we appreciate it. And we will see you later tonight at the Vegas Golden Knights game.
All right, thanks a lot,
All
guys.
right,
See you
have
at
a
the
good
game
one.
tonight.
All right. See you, King Anchor.
All right. So I guess I have to give out another prize, right? We want to take care of our listeners.
Oh,
so,
what is it, Bryan?
Of course. Well, have you heard of the Age of Chivalry Renaissance
I
Festival?
only go there once a week dressed like a Game of Thrones character.
I could see you doing that.
Sometimes twice a week if I have to.
I could see you doing that for sure. Anyway,
I dress like Jamie and I cut my arm off.
the Age of Chivalry Renaissance Festival. We're giving away a pair of tickets right now. We'll do first caller. Let's make it easy. First caller right now, single day tickets to Age of Chivalry Renaissance Festival at the Sunset Park. This is this Sunday, October 13th, and the doors open at 10 a.m. I'll take your first caller right now, 257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to score these tickets. First caller right now. Rapid fire, 702-257-5396. If you are a first caller right now, you will win a pair of tickets to Age of Chivalry, the Renaissance Festival.
Can you please tell me what that consists of, Bryan?
Can I please? Well, you just named it. You're dressing up in outfits and having a good time.
That's what I'm doing.
Well, I know that's. Well, that's. I would think that's what everybody's going to be doing.
Is there a hot pepper eating contest there?
I don't see anything on my piece of paper that says.
Are there funnel cakes?
I do not see anything on my piece of paper that says that.
Is there a giant 200-foot projector that plays Robin Hood Men in Tights in the background?
I don't have that on my piece of paper.
Is it sponsored by the Excalibur?
No. All right, we got to go now. I'm not going to answer any more of your questions. All right, we're going to take a 21-hour break. Sean Hannity's coming up next, folks. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow.